Donald Trump works a shift at a McDonald's for a major press briefing, and our friends on the left completely lose their minds, accidentally saying what they think about people who are in the working class. So we're going to go over the entire stunt, talk about what happened with it, what it means for the campaign, and where we go from there. In other news, Kamala Harris at a campaign event tells Wisconsinites that Jesus has no place at her rallies. Yes, you are hearing that correctly. So we're going to go over what happens there, what we do with that, and where we go with that. Donald Trump goes to the Al Smith dinner and roast Democrats, and Kamala has a call-in event and a leak of U.S. documents showing that Israel is planning to invade Iran directly comes out, throwing the world into chaos, plus a large amount and plethora of other news, because you almost forgot about the Al Smith dinner with the fact that the McDonald's stunt came by, and that does seem like it's by design. It is going to, however, be all of this and more over here on Contemporary. So, strap yourselves in, get some McDonald's, maybe some fries from a former president. Find some friends and tell people about the show, because it's the only way we grow, and end a passion play, crumbling away. I'm your source of self-destruction. Veins that pump with fear, sucking darkest clear, leading on your death's construction. Taste me, you will see, more is all you need. Dedicated to how I'm killing you. Come crawling faster. Obey your master. Your life burns faster. Obey your master. Master. Ba-da-ba-da-da. I'm loving it. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I feel like I should know the riff for that song that was just playing on the background. Those of you watching on the replay on Instagram have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But it does sound familiar. It really does. I don't know. The title that's on the YouTube, on the live stream, says, I Would Die for Lo-Fi. And it's from Jared Jones and DJ Cutman, but I'm sure that it has some sort of real-world pop counterpart as well. Hi! Hey! Hello! Welcome, I'm Jay Edgar. This is Contemporary. We have got a butt-ton of stuff to go over here tonight. And, I know my computer's going to need to restart at some point here. Actually getting my webcam to kick on right now has been super slow. I don't know. I think it's just because I have way too many tabs open on Rumble right now. So, it's a mess right now. We've got a lot of stuff to go over here today. Full disclosure, right off the bat, usually I don't talk about internet e-drama or anything else like that. And while I have my opinions on Mr. Poole and his show and other creators and their shows, I don't typically go into this, but I did there was an announcement that was made kind of off the cusp on Saturday night that I feel that I need to address, because the two people that are involved are a big part of the reason that I'm here, in spite of the fact that I don't really watch their show anymore, and I had a falling out with a major star. I've got to address this, and we'll do that after we do the finance at the top of the show. And then another big time show. This one is one that I actually openly detest also seems to be going down the pipes as well. I don't know what's going to happen. One of the things with that is that Mr. Poole, the Beanie Boy, is well, he's kind of like herpes. He goes away for a little while, but he's never really gone. He always comes back. So we'll be talking about that as well. I found out about that while I was doing show prep here today. So I have only known about that for probably about 40 minutes tops, that was going to be a thing, and I'm still not 100% sure what went on, but I don't watch that cringy show, so I can't really tell what happened with that either. Anyway, got a lot of stuff to go over here today over here on Contemporary War, Presidency. I just got done with a great conversation with somebody who, thank God, had a working microphone. My first two guests, of course, had an issue with that. Chris did, further down, get his hands on his regular wired microphone. He was trying to use his headset microphone and it wasn't working. Quest, we no idea what was going on with that. I love you, Quest. Before we get back on here the next time, you gotta get a different microphone, dude. We gotta figure that out, or see if you can't get a PC setup or something going on here, because I've already heard from a bunch of people that it was insanely hard. It was hard for me to hear you, dude. But I do want to have the conversation again, because Quest is one of the actual coolest people out there. So you guys deserve to hear Mr. Fanning's voice, and I intend to bring it to you. Anyway, we've spent a lot of time on the intros here, so before we get started, as always, go check out great programming such as the Daily Ignoramus with Mr. Stephen Ignoramus, who is probably going to be getting a phone call here, maybe not after the show because he's on Eastern time and it's an hour later, so I don't want to wake him up from whatever it is that he does to pass his night here, but there may be some lessons I might be throwing his way in the near future, so there is that. And check out Overruled with KTZed. Go check that out. That's going to be a great time as well every Sunday, either Crimeland or Overruled. It's an awesome time, so go check out both of those programs. I do have to go back and reach out to Mr. Zed too, because he brought up the defense contract, and I had only found out about it right before the show, so there was a bit going on with that, and I probably didn't have all the details to that. Maybe after the election I'll have him on Ed Talk and he can explain it. Speaking of which, one other thing before we go, I do have one more interview scheduled for October with the wonderful Anna Valtis, who has created his own political party. Even though it's not in practice, it's something that he has done in theory, and I want to talk to him about that. And then there will be no Ed Talks in November. There are going to be election challenges. There's the election night itself. There's going to be a lot of news coverage coming off to that, and hunting season in Wisconsin as well is coming up for that. So while Contemporary will continue with no issue, I am not going to attempt to try to juggle the election and Ed Talk at the same time. So there will be no guests on in November at all. I'm going to reach out to my friend Jessica Green to see if we can reschedule her appearance on this for the first weekend of December, if possible. And I'm going to take a leaping lunge and try to get DJ Cutman on here. I know I've got some connections for that one as well. But anyway, we've done introductions for enough time. We've got a lot to go over here, so let's get into it. Let's get started. Let's start it with the polling, because I think that's important to do right now. Let's get the new scene up here. Live chat's up. Check in with the live chat too, because I do want you guys to chat away, chat amongst yourselves, because the more you chat, the better off we do in the numbers. So let's get that up here. Lunacy is here. Mog is first. Mog wants someone to suck it. Hopefully not somebody that I want to suck it, for different reasons. The pumpkin, the NPC pumpkin, is here as well. It's out of the frame for Instagram, so you guys can't see it on the Instagram, but I'll put that up here for you. The NPC pumpkin. Let's see. Am I the only one that thinks it's ironic that the party has been fighting for raising the minimum wage used a McDonald's for this stunt? No, I don't see the irony in it. I do see the importance of it as well. The Biden economy is so bad, Trump has to work a minimum wage McDonald's job. Yep. TMFNZ, nice. Alex Jones the same way. Lunacy is here. When you're around people who are relevant, I'd talk to you. I can have you on. I want to have conversations with anybody. A court date on election day. If you care to share what it is that you have the court date for, you have the floor. If you do not, that is fine as well. Entirely, 100%. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with Lindsey Graham. I would. I would totally do that. I would probably eviscerate him. I might end his political career. I don't think his people would let him come on and talk. Traffic violation. The bagmen for the state. The cops that give traffic tickets. As our old friend Ron Helton would say. Anyway, let's talk about the polls. It looks like the poll is tightening right now, and I gotta say, given what we see from this week and the other two elections, there should be some alarm bells that are flashing at the DNC. Harris is leading in the polls by 0.9 right now on the aggregate. Now, yes, we have a morning consult with almost 10,000 likely voters in a 1% margin of error. I think that's bullshit, by the way. Showing Harris plus 4, and I think that's the only reason that she's up by 0.9 right now. I think that Trump might be up if it wasn't for that morning consult one and the large sample size. I'm a little bit iffy about any of the recent polling right now because other than the Harris X that dropped on 10-9 to 10-11, we don't have any registered voters polls. We only have likely voters polls. So these numbers may be skewed, and I think they might be skewed. We can look at the betting odds as well. But where I was saying alarm bells should be flashing was that on today, October 22nd, 2016, the same aggregate poll done by the same aggregator, which is Real Clear Politics, had Hillary Clinton up plus 6.1. Who remembers what happened in 2016? Just a few weeks later. I'll give you a hint. We did not say Madam President that time, so there ought to be some alarm bells that are going off, that are screaming right now over at Team Harris. Although they're going to come back out and say, oh, we're going to win. Let's come back up to the front because I want to look at the betting odds because, again, like I said last week, this is where people are putting the money down and saying, yeah, I want to put money down on what I think is going to happen with this. The battlegrounds, that should be flashing red lights right there. Trump is leading in all battlegrounds right now. Even Wisconsin, which I don't think is going to go to him. Let's see. I want markets. No, I don't want markets. Do I have betting odds here? Let me see if I have this in Harris versus Trump. I want to get betting odds. Where are betting odds? Those are all the polls, by the way, going back to when Biden was still in the race. See if that comes up. Maybe it won't. We might have to skip that for right now. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to skip that one for right now. I do want to come back on and talk about what's happening with the Dow, though, because that was a bit all over the place. It actually wound up closing down, but by such a short margin that it might as well have closed up, or at least even right now. The Dow today closed 0.016% down. That is after spending most of the day much, much further down, breaking back even about 1:30 p.m. Eastern or Central Time today, and then turning back down as the day ended. So, a few things that are shaking up in this, and yes, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I wouldn't do anything more than day trade right now, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am thinking about looking into what my 401k says and putting that out availability for day trading. This is not official financial advice. Always consult with your financial advisor before making any brash decisions like this. That would be just what works for me. That might not be what works for your household. But that is where they're at with that. We'll grab a look at our markets, and then we will move on into the show drama. October 22nd, stocks mixed after earnings deluge. NASDAQ rises for fifth straight session. Stocks turned in a mixed performance on Tuesday, with major indices wavering between gains and losses as investors digested a slew of quarterly earnings reports from major companies. The Dow and the S&P both closed less than 0.1% lower, while the NASDAQ rose 0.2%. The Dow and the S&P, which finished last week at record high levels, lost ground for the second straight day. The tech-heavy NASDAQ closed higher for the fifth straight trading session and is just 0.5% from its July all-time high. Nvidia, which hit a top record high on yesterday, fell 0.1% on Tuesday, but is still getting closer to overtaking Apple. Let me drop this a little bit. It's a little bit loud in my ears, so I don't want it to be too loud in yours. Which fell 0.3% as the world's most valuable company by market capitalization. Other large cap tech stocks, including Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta Platforms, gained ground. Microsoft's 2.1% advance led Dow gainers. Among stocks that move after companies release quarterly results, GE Aerospace fell 9.1%, Verizon dropped 5%, and 3M fell 2.3%, while GM and Philip Morris International both rose about 10%. I guess people are looking to cheap GM cars and cigarettes to deal with this election fallout. The economic data calendar was quiet on Tuesday ahead of reports on housing, the labor market, and consumer sentiment later this week. Investors are closely monitoring economic data. Remarks from the Federal Reserve officials were indications that the economy remains on sound footing and that the central bank is poised to continue cutting interest rates. The yield on 10-year treasuries, which is sensitive to expectations around interest rates, continued rising Tuesday. After surging yesterday to its highest level since late July, the yield was 4.21% late Tuesday, up from 4.18% yesterday. Gold futures were up nearly 1% at around $27.60 an ounce as the precious metal continues to trade at record level highs because, well, I'm guessing a lot of people don't trust the US dollar right now, so they're trying to put something into something a little bit more solid. Crude oil futures were up more than 2%, continuing to recover from last week's steep losses. Bitcoin was down slightly, trading around 67,500. So it's not on sale yet, but it's a little bit down. A few things to look at as we go. Let's talk about the drama. And then we're going to talk about some more drama. And we'll do so with the cheery sounds of Stardew Valley while we're doing it. How do you like that? Alright, so this one I've only known for less than an hour. This is from the Daily Dot, so I'm not going to put a ton of stock into this. Mogwai says, I was in Georgia yesterday. Holy shit, the ads. Lunacy got a traffic violation. He's going to ask for a jury. That's the way to go. That I can't read on YouTube. The market in election years has more ups and downs than Rob Lowe's career. And Mog says, Denny's announced today it's Rudy Tooty Fresh and closing 150 restaurants. I didn't know that. Let me look at that real quick. That's bigger news, I think, than Trump at McDonald's. How is greed driving the markets? Denny's is closing 150 restaurants over the next year, and the 71-year-old diner is mulling a major change to its 24/7 operating hours. 50 locations are set to close by the end of 24, while the remaining 100 will shutter in 25, Denny's announced in an earnings call Tuesday. The amount is to a tenth of its restaurants, leaving 1,375 locations once completed. A specific list of closing restaurants was not immediately announced, so we don't know where they will be, but yeah, 150. That's 3 per state. Denny's is targeting underperforming restaurants that are weighing down the company's financial performance, according to Steve Dunn, Denny's Executive Vice President and Chief Global Development Officer. I might have to go throw a couple bucks into a Denny's. I don't know where there is one around here. Palm actually might know. We might have to go into the city. I don't like that. But we might have to. I would throw a couple bucks at Denny's. I like their food. It's just there isn't one anywhere close by. I've never had a bad Denny's experience. I know a lot of people have. I'm one of the few who is not. The affected locations are either too old to be remodeled or in areas that have become unprofitable. The chain, best known for never closing its doors, is also making a major concession with its franchisees over the requirement of remaining open 24/7. Since the pandemic, about a quarter of its restaurants have not returned to those around-the-clock hours, so Denny's is easing up on the requirements for a franchise to do so. Translation: they are losing money by keeping people on staff for that, so that's big. Thank you, Mogwai, for that. There aren't many local Denny's. There was one right in the middle of Janesville when I lived in down by Janesville. And I liked going there. I didn't go there very often, but I liked going there. One at a Quick Trip about 1.5 hours away. I think I know which one you're talking about. I think. I remember seeing that. I didn't think it was the one that was 1.5 hours away. Anyway, we can text about that after the show. Alright, let's do the media side of things here. So, from the Daily Dot, Tim Pool fans aren't happy. He threw all his employees under the bus in a threat to quit the show. From Catherine Huggins, far-right podcaster Tim Pool announced on Monday he's considering shutting down his Timcast IRL show, sparking outrage from some fans. Pool hinted about the show's potential ending in an X post promoting his latest episode, writing on Monday, "This may be the last Timcast IRL." If it's Tim, I don't think it's actually going to be the last one. I'm going to be completely frank about Tim, which I don't care for him. I've listened to him every once in a while. But I don't personally care for him that much. I don't think he is as grassroots as he claims to be. But with that being said, I know a lot of people would be affected by the shutdown of this, and I mean, he's one of the bigger shows on the YouTube side, and he doesn't go to very much alt media for it either. So part of the reason that I don't think he's as grassroots as he says he is. In the beginning of the 2-hour episode, Poole stated this might be the end, attributing to a potential decision to a combination of struggling to balance work and life and incompetent staff. "We are well off. It's not a financial thing. We make a lot of money, but piece by piece the structure becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes impossible to manage," he said. Well, get your vice people to send more accounting people down. Poole said that although he never called anybody person or individual, and that there's also legal ramifications to insulting employees, he has noticed compounding laziness affecting the show. Which, if what he says on his show about his staff is true, then he brought a lot of this on himself, because he just lets everybody do whatever it is that they want and come in when they want and everything else. But I take this with a massive grain of salt because this is a person who, when he puts out a one-off video, which he does 5 of throughout the day, one of the words is always capitalized because he likes to sensationalize things. But I know a lot of people who are going to listen to this on the audio platform, who are going to listen to this after the fact on YouTube, or the people not so much live, are going to look at this and say, wow, I'm going to miss Timcast IRL. The only episode of IRL that I've ever seen, by the way, is the one that had Styx on it. And I only watched the segment that Styx was on. I didn't watch the cringy music, the stuff like that. I just listened to the Styx portion and then shut it off. Because I can't stand Tim Pool. But one of the bigger ones, and this one does affect me, without this show that I'm about to talk about, we might not be sitting here watching this live or watching the replay on Rumble or YouTube or over on the podcast platform, because the host and the person who was doing all the work was a big inspiration for me to come back and buy a microphone and a webcam and get this started here. So I'm going to start with Blonde in the Belly of the Beasts. Statement to this, I will go back and read Matt's, and I also listened to Matt's statement on what would have been the Matt and Blonde show, or Beauty and the Beta, if you are an originalist to that, and kind of talk about what I saw with this. Rebecca, who is at Blonde's tweets, says, to our community, for the past 8.5 years, Matt and I have had the honor of cultivating this incredible community. We've shared laughter, hard conversations, personal milestones, and grown together both as a show and as individuals. I witnessed relationships form and families grow, and I felt a deep connection to your stories, both in moments of joy and challenge. In recent years, my focus has shifted from day-to-day political events to more profound philosophical and civilizational challenges that I believe are critical to address. This shift has naturally influenced my approach to the show, and I've come to realize that my passion lies in these larger discussions rather than the latest headlines. After careful consideration and discussions with Matt, we've come to a pivotal point. His vision requires that I scale back on topics that are essential to me. While I respect this perspective, I know that I must remain true to my values and the commitment to them that brought me here in the first place. Our work together has been valuable, but I cannot compromise on my principles or my responsibility to the future of our people. A reference, of course, to the 14 words, because Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, whom I have never really enjoyed to begin with, is a raging white supremacist, and very open about it. There are no hard feelings, also not true. I've always respected Matt's dedication, however, I won't continue down a path that doesn't align with what I stand for. I would rather step aside now than move forward in a way that feels inauthentic. To our loyal audience, thank you. Your support has meant everything to me. The bonds that we've built together are something I'll always treasure. I encourage you to continue engaging in the difficult conversations, standing firm in your convictions, and never shying away from questioning the world around you. I'll be focusing on new projects that allow me to dive deeper into the topics I'm passionate about. I hope you'll stay connected with me on X and YouTube for future updates, collaborations, and content. Thank you for being part of this incredible chapter. I'm looking forward to what's next. With respect and gratitude, Rebecca. So, that was her statement. Matt, with the quote X, saying, for the record, I do not agree with this characterization, and it was not my preference for this to be the announcement method. I believe our audiences owe an explanation together on stream. I will be live tomorrow as usual at 9 Eastern Time. So this all came down and out at 10 p.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. 11:09 Central for the rest of us. And this is how he found out about too. So I sucked it up and did something I have not done since my suicide prevention live stream in 2020. I listened to Matt Christensen, and he sat back to explain that. He showed the text messages and everything else with this. Now, I still am not going to forgive Matt for snubbing me for the suicide prevention stream and going on to do something on the same day with the mainstream media, even though he told me that he doesn't do any sort of media appearances on Saturdays because that's his day. If he hadn't gone on the mainstream media channel on the same day that I was live doing the same thing, trying to raise money for this, I might still be a Beauty and the Beta listener to this day. Probably not. I'd probably found something else to be pissed off with them about, but I would probably have been a listener, probably not a financial supporter, probably still have been a listener at this point. So that's my stance on what happened between Matt and I. But as far as this goes, I mean, people who've been with this channel since 2018 or even into 2020 know the names Elaine, the Libertarian Redhead, and KTZed. And for all the anger that I have for Matt, it's personal, it's not professional. And I don't begrudge him of this. This is one of the hardest things to find out. And like with KTZed, who came to me at the end of one of the shows and said, hey, I can't do this anymore. This is taking up too much of my time. And I want to go pursue my other projects. Was at least able to say something to me. Elaine, the Libertarian Redhead, of course, as most of you who follow the lore of this channel and have been here for years, knows, legitimately left me with no announcement at all. She took the week off because she was getting married, and then never responded to a text or a Snapchat message or a call ever again. So I got completely ghosted with my co-host. And I hope he comes out of this okay. One of the things that, I mean, it does worry me for him is that, you know, he's got the 2 kids now. He's married. And this is basically his stream of revenue. And I know, regretfully, that a large part of the audience that was paying for this were here for her, not him. I've been in the Discord, I've been in the live chats, I know what the division was. The vast majority was there for her. So he might have to go back and get a regular job. I don't know if he's going to be able to or not. I wish him the best. Still not going to talk to him, but I wish him the best. I actually might shoot him an email just to express my sympathy. Because I have done this twice, and it fucking blows. And it blows that they had to go back and do this like this. Leon Follow says, I stopped watching his show because of her. Interesting. I stopped watching his show because of him, but I was never a big fan of hers to begin with. Even though, oddly enough, I am following her, but not him. But, yeah. I do wish him the best. I'm sorry that had to happen to you. I know it sucks. I know it blows. You're a fighter, though, Matt. You'll come out on top. Alright, now let's get into the main news of the day, now that I've addressed this. For the title card of what's happening on today's show, Marjorie Taylor Greene, with the announcement X and the video. Thank you for taking bullets for us. This is great. President Trump has now worked at McDonald's longer than Kamala Harris. He's a man of the people. Because, of course, Donald Trump took off the suit jacket. I mean, you can still see he's got the tie, the dress shirt on. Maybe you can't really see the suit pants too much, but he legitimately came in, pulled off the suit jacket, put on the apron, and started working. Now, before we watch the video, a couple things with this. Yes, to the Palmer reports and the Midas touches and all the people who fucking simp for those fucking morons. Constantly. And never-endingly. Yes, of course this was a staged event. The Secret Service is not just going to let a presidential candidate who has had 2 assassination attempts, possibly 3, made on his life. Just walk into a random McDonald's and start serving fries to people in a drive-thru. That's a good fucking way to get shot. So yes, the store was closed. Yes, everybody who came through the drive-thru was screened. Their cars were checked for weapons and bombs and a host of other things. Of course it was staged. But the oil was hot. The people were in the lines. The sandwiches were hot. This is still a person of means, and of great means, stepping down to see what it is that the rest of us do. I am fully in favor of this. I had some issues with it, of course, but I am for the most part fully in favor of it. Let's watch the video.
Man, I could do this all day. I wouldn't mind this job. I like this job. I think I might come back and do it again.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Mr.
Look at that. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice to see you.
You made it possible for ordinary people like us to meet you.
You're not ordinary.
I mean, thank you so much
You
for
are not
everything you're
ordinary.
doing.
I can see.
We pray for you, and you are the type of person we want to be the president.
Thank you.
I'm sure a brown Indian person was one of the people that got screened in. I'm sure that was coincidental.
Thank you so much.
So nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the bullet for us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
When you think about it, I guess that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Man, I could do this all day.
And again, a lot of this is, I have some differences with the Donald, mostly on his spending platform. I've been open about that. I'm not going to stand here and lie to you and say that I think that he walked on water and did all these great things. I don't. But he didn't have to do this either. Just like he didn't have to step down from his cushy business life and run for president and take the hatred that's been thrown at him for the last couple of years. The loss of revenue, the loss of businesses attached to his name, because of the fact that people don't want to support him because he was the president that the media told them to hate. He didn't have to do any of this. I mean, we looked at the polls earlier, and they're tighter than they should be, and they're much, much tighter than the Hillary polls were, and Hillary lost. He could have spent the rest of the campaign going to occasional rallies here, playing golf at the Mar-a-Lago. Instead, he decided to go get probably a $900 dress shirt and pants that go with a $10,000 suit, potentially full of fryer grease. Campaign stunt? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Marjorie Taylor Greene is still a plant. We've got Proud Army Brat with the crowd size out there, because I know that if there were only a handful of people down there, that'd be the top of the news is Donald Trump cannot draw crowds anymore. The momentum is over. Well, the momentum wasn't over here, I can tell you that. There's no audio to this video. Yeah, the momentum is definitely still going on over there. What will happen on election day, I can't tell you. I've got ideas. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. There is no Santeria being shown here, but I mean, if this is indicative, Pennsylvania might fall out of the blue wall. Let's see. Mog says, you mean the fries weren't real? I knew Mac. He was a great guy. He was the biggest Big Mac. I know some parts come from China, but the 2 patties and the special sauce will keep them from eating the pets. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. One of the things that goes with that, though, too, is I chicken Whopper the other day. It's not bad. I can't eat Thousand Island dressing. Leon Fowle says, is this the same Trump? He seems different. Also address how both he and Harris are wanting to attack Iran for Israel. We don't need no mores. You are correct on that. And that I do have some of the Israel news down to the bottom of the show. So that'll be down at the bottom here. At this time, I cannot vote for either of them. Israel owns them. They are their puppets. Ironic because I used the lyrics from Master of Puppets to open the show earlier on. As far as cannot vote for either of them, before Harris was actually nominated, I was in the same boat. I was going to stay home on election day. I was going to do a few down ballot stuff, but I was not going to vote for a president. When it was Trump v. Biden, I was not going to vote for president. Harris frightens me to a point that I'm going to do something that I swore I would never do again, and I am voting against Harris myself. I'm a fiscal hawk. Donald Trump did spend us into oblivion in his first term. I acknowledge that. I've made many videos acknowledging that fact. But that is a crowd of hundreds, if not thousands of people who do not think like me. Who in fact have quite the opposite view that I do. Let's read from the Associated Press. McDonald's agreed to Trump event, but say it isn't endorsing a presidential candidate. From Deanne Durbin. McDonald's Corporation agreed to host former President Trump at a Pennsylvania store over the weekend, but said it isn't endorsing a candidate in the U.S. presidential race, which is probably smart. People from both sides of the aisle spend money at your restaurants. And this was an individual franchisee who signed off on this, not the McDonald's Corporation. Trump staffed the fry station at a McDonald's in suburban Philadelphia on Sunday. Before answering questions through the drive-thru window, the restaurant was closed to the public for the Republican nominee's visit. In a message to employees obtained by Monday by the Associated Press, McDonald's said the owner-operator of the location, name I'm going to redact because I know he's going to get doxxed anyway, thanks to Associated Press, reached out after he learned of Trump's desire to visit a Pennsylvania restaurant. McDonald's agreed to the event. Upon learning of the former president's request, we approached it through the lens of one of our core values. We open our doors to everyone. The company said McDonald's does not endorse the candidates for elected office, and that remains true in this race for the next president. We are not red or blue, we are golden. So, McDonald's for Chase Oliver. Just kidding. The Chicago Burger Giant said franchisees have also invited VP Harris, the Democratic nominee, and her running mate Tim Walz to their restaurants. The Associated Press left a message seeking comment with the Harris campaign, which is going to go unanswered. Go away. Thank you. McDonald's said it's been a fixture of the conversations this election cycle, even though it hasn't sought the attention. At several campaign stops during the interviews, Harris has recalled working at McDonald's for spending money during her college years. Trump has claimed without evidence that Harris is lying. You don't hate the media enough. They had to throw that in there because that's discrediting to the Trump campaign. Because the Associated Press definitely doesn't have their fingers on the scale. McDonald's sidestepped the issue in its employee message. The company said it is proud of Harris's fond memories of working under the arches and noted the often cited figure that 1 in 8 Americans worked at McDonald's at some point. I have not. I know people who did, even though we didn't have one locally. People drove all the way up to the city. A couple people actually did growing up. One of them became a manager while he was still in high school and then bought a Mustang with a V6. Brand new Mustang in high school with a V6. While we and our franchisees don't have records for all positions dating back to the early 80s, what makes 1 in 8 so powerful is it's a shared experience so many Americans have had, McDonald's said. So, and I don't know if she has worked there or not. I'm not even going to try to come back out and make that determination. She says she did, in a position where there's really no way to keep records. I mean, it's the 80s, everything was done by paper. It gets shredded after 5 years, there's nothing on computers. It doesn't make a difference to me if she has or not. It's what she did in the prosecutor's office. That's the determination for me. Leon Fowle says, I read that McDonald's is being boycotted after pictures and news was posted showing McDonald's feeding the IDF during their attacks on Gaza. I don't know if that's true or not. It would have to be regular hamburgers, not cheeseburgers. Because, of course, by Jewish dietary law, they cannot eat products from the mother's milk and the mother's meat together. From the Mogwai, he should have gone to Wendy's. Wendy's is yummy, by the way. Palm says, Wendy's is yummy as well. The same for me. I like Wendy's a lot. I don't go there near as often as I should. I used to work in a place where I was able to get Wendy's patties right off the line. They are, by the way, it's true, they're never frozen. When the commercial comes out says fresh, never frozen beef, I can personally attest to the fact that that beef has never been frozen. And it leaves the transport garage and trailers that will also not freeze it. That beef that gets to you in the Wendy's hamburger has never been frozen. I promise you. Let's see. Biden was going to a Delaware McDonald's to do the same thing, but he would get scared anytime someone started talking through the demon speakers that they made him wear. Come on, man! Leanne says the franchises paid their own people, not McDonald's, so I don't know if they sent the records to the corporate offices, but I doubt it. Plus, again, we don't know where this McDonald's was, so we won't be able to go to the franchisee either. Candace saying her grandfather was Jewish, not black. I've been watching some of her shows lately. I've never been a fan of Candace, so I've never given her the time of day. The patties were frozen when I worked there in the 80s during college. In 2009 to 2011, I can assure you that they were not frozen. So now we will see what our friends on the left really think about the workers. Trump's McDonald's visit highlights a significant problem for workers, from Matt Egan over at CNN. Now I want some Wendy's. I wonder if the local one will be open after I'm done with stream. No, I have food. I'm going to eat here. The last time Congress voted to increase the federal minimum wage, Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns both still existed. Patrick Mahomes was just 11 years old, and Harris was San Francisco's DA. The minimum wage hike in July 07 lifted the pay floor in the U.S. from $5.15 to $5.85 and allowed for 2 more increases to $7.25 in July of 09. I remember when that one went through, actually, by the way. The federal minimum wage hasn't budged since then. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Former President Trump's visit on Sunday to a McDonald's in Pennsylvania highlights the longest period without a national increase in the federal minimum wage since it was established in 1938. After briefly manning a McDonald's fry station, Trump punted on when asked by a reporter if he's in favor of lifting the minimum wage. Well, I think these people work hard and they're great, and I just saw something, the process. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises. They produce a lot of job. VP Harris on Monday attacked Trump for that non-answer. VP Harris attacked Trump for a non-answer. Hi, pot kettle. and reiterated her calls for a higher minimum wage without specifying what exactly the new federal minimum wage should be. Harris told reporters ahead of the campaign stop in Birmingham, Michigan, that she believes we must raise the minimum wage. My opponent, Donald Trump, does not believe that we should raise the minimum wage, and I think everyone knows the current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, which means that the person who's working a full day, working full weeks, will make about $15,000 a year, which is essentially poverty wages, which was funny because that's what I was making in Kenosha, and I didn't qualify for any assistance because I made too far above the federal poverty line. I was well above the federal poverty line at $13,000 a year. So, no. Don't give me that. Now, and I understand that Biden inflation has made that more difficult. And I don't know how it is in other states, by the way. Wisconsin has no federal minimum wage law above the federal. They don't have any state increase on the minimum wage, so they're pegged to whatever the federal one is. I don't know anybody who makes the minimum wage. Now, even high school students. Your McDonald's workers start at 15. Hell, the Culver starts at 18. I remember this was years ago before the Biden inflation started kicking in, when I still lived down by Madison. There was a Taco Bell next to a Quick Trip in DeForest, which is north end Dane County. The Taco Bell was advertising for $16 an hour to start, because the Quick Trip next door that had just been built was advertising for $15.50. I'm sure that there are places out there in deep rural, in other states like Arkansas or things like that, people are just getting paid whatever the minimum wage is. Personally, I don't know anybody who makes that wage. Period. End of story. I don't know anybody who makes under 10 an hour right now. Now, if the bottom were to fall out in the next few months, I could see that start to happen again, just like it did in 08. But right now, even still, the employers are fighting over whatever workers they can get their hands on. So yes, that wage is higher. The Harris campaign did not respond to CNN's request for comment on how high she favors raising the minimum wage. She has no idea, because just, "we need to raise the minimum wage" is a campaign slogan, which is all that she has. Leon Fowle is in Texas, by the way. Let's see. Palm says in other countries, McDonald's is a special treat. That I can see. Leon says, "I was the one they sent to the outside freezer to bring in the boxes of patties." Oh, nice. The local Burger King is hiring. What are they hiring at? I didn't know there is a Burger King up there. I was about to say didn't know there's a Burger King up there, and then it popped in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I know where that is. There are no minimum food service jobs in Texas. Most make $10 and more, probably the same in other states. Bog says, my local Chinese restaurant slogan is, the cat, I mean the chicken, is fresh, never frozen. Yeah, I don't know anybody who makes a minimum wage right now. Because they'd be able to go right down the street to the next place and get 15. And of course, we've got more of this. Ocasio-Cortez. Trump thinks that people who work at McDonald's are a joke. From Julianne Ventura. So does AOC, by the way. The Honorable and Venerable Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Chavez, D-Twitch, slammed former President Trump for his recent visit to a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, suggesting the photo op was just an attempt at connecting with voters. Wait, you mean that there are people that believe that it wasn't a photo op to connect with voters? Okay, puppy, you got Donald Trump wearing a little McDonald's costume because he thinks that's what people do. Chavez told a crowd of people Monday during an event with the UAW. They're not trying to empathize with us, okay, Poppy? They're making fun of us. Donald Trump thinks that people who work at McDonald's are a joke. Again, pot kettle. So, and we'll be talking about that more on things I like and things that I hate. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one here. Tim Walz, however. Tim Walz, Trump disrespected McDonald's employees by serving fries there. Oh yeah, it was so disrespectful that he came down and did that with them when he didn't have to. Palm says our local McDonald's staff at one point crafted this whole story of how they had a silo of chicken nuggets that they had to send their smallest employee to crawl in and get them for order. That's the reason that they gave my daughter why her nuggets were taking too long. Minnesota clown Tim Walz claimed on Monday that VP Harris worked at McDonald's and that former President Trump disrespected McDonald's workers by showing up at a restaurant over the weekend and serving customers. Walz made their remarks on The View, the most intelligent program on television, which we will watch. She actually worked in a McDonald's, Walz claimed, without evidence. Yeah, DW, you don't fucking need to do that either. She didn't go there and pander and disrespect McDonald's workers by standing there in your red tie to take a picture. Let's watch.
Vice President Harris and I grew up middle class. We understand that. She actually worked in a McDonald's. She didn't go and pander and disrespect McDonald's workers by standing there in your red tie and take a picture. His policies are the ones that undermine those very workers that were in that McDonald's, whether it's home ownership, health care, reproductive rights, or cost of products. So there's more work to be done. But just to be very clear,
slogan.
Nothing Donald Trump is proposing does anything about the middle class.
Jeez. Oh, they're really good at reading a script. I'll give them that. The company sent an internal message on Sunday to U.S. franchise owners that they were proud of Harris's fond memories, while seemingly acknowledging that the company does not have a record of her employment since they do not have records for all positions dating back to the early 80s. Again, it still doesn't matter the fact of whether or not she worked there. It's the fact that he is doing it now. We talked about not being a political brand. Skip that one. I did like this one, though. Clint of Liberty Lockdown podcast. With how the spin we all anticipated to go, Clint Russell says, "You know who also worked at the fast food drive-in at McDonald's? Hitler!" Quote, CNN any minute now. Surprisingly enough, they did not come out and say that, but I'm sure it was probably on some writer's desk.
It's an amazing business, it's an amazing country, and we're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to do it.
Are you going to see Aaron
Rodgers? Look at the enthusiasm. I mean, that's thousands of people over there. They go miles back. That's incredible. So, look at that.
Are you going to give Aaron Rodgers?
What's your lunch order?
Raise the minimum wage for the president.
Pittsburgh game tonight, and we'll look forward to it, and it should be a good game. And yeah, good team. They have a great coach. Pittsburgh, great coach. And we'll see how it is.
Tell us about getting started in your own career, Mr. President. How did you tell us about those jobs that people take early on to try to make a break and how you did it?
This is a great job to take in the beginning. It requires expertise. I'm going through the French fry stuff. It's a whole.
What have you learned?
Did you learn anything new?
And it requires great expertise, actually.
Do you appreciate McDonald's more?
And to do it fast. Yeah, it's amazing.
Nice. All right. Well, let's read what Fox News has to say about this. You should still turn off Fox, by the way. Woman served by Trump at McDonald's drive-thru reveals details behind viral exchange with former president. From Yale Halen. A Pennsylvania mom who was served by former President Trump at McDonald's discussed the one request she asked of the former president when he surprised her at the drive-thru window on Sunday. How are you surprised by that, by the way? Are there 75 people around the McDonald's with their fingers in their earpieces? Is there a gigantic Chevrolet Suburban with tinted bulletproof glass windows? Are there people gathered for miles back in rallying surprise? I don't believe that you were surprised by this visit. Trump cooked and served French fries to customers at a McDonald's, Pennsylvania, while accusing his 24 opponent of lying about once working at the fast food restaurant. A clip of Nyara Andreychik pulled up to the drive-thru window. Oh, they're gonna go running with that one, aren't they? Andreychik, it's a Russian! It's a Russian front! Oh my god, they're the Russians! Where Trump waited with her order went viral, with online users highlighting a remark she made to the former president during their brief interaction. Oh, she's Brazilian. That looks like a Russian name, so... Mr. President, please don't let U.S. become Brazil, my native Brazil, please, Andreychik pleaded. We're gonna make it better than ever. Okay, Trump said, shaking her hand while continuing to greet the crowd through the drive-thru window. Let's watch.
A lot of fun here, everybody.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Look at all the fake news over there. Hello, everybody.
You can take this,
And
right?
you know this is compliments of Trump, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
please don't let the United States become Brazil, my native Brazil.
We'll keep
Please,
it good.
Please,
We're
please.
going to make it better than ever, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Mr.
Compliments
President.
of Trump.
Yes,
Have a good time.
thank you so much.
Thank you over there.
Thank you so much.
Have a good time.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
You
see you.
too.
Bye,
Thank
darling.
you.
Have a good time. Thank you, honey.
I'm very grateful for this country. I love this country, she continued, and I don't want to see this country become the corrupt sewage that Brazil is at the moment, where politicians do whatever they want with no accountability to the people. Andreychik said that she was asked to attend a Trump campaign event, but was not aware that the former president would actually be working at the drive-thru until she started hearing excitement in the car in front of her. Again, you get asked to go back and do this. I have a hard time believing you were surprised by that. This Palmer should have deleted. Now, thank you, Kevin Dalton, for giving a screenshot to this, because the Palmer report blocked me when I pushed back on one of their bad ideas one time. The Palmer report, with the X of the real proof of Donald Trump's dementia, is that he let his handlers do this to him today without pushing back about what a humiliating idea it was. Really, is that what you think about the working class? Because it sounds like that's what you think of the working class, and is that this is humiliating somehow. I was proud to work in a grocery store deli for as long as I did. I enjoyed it. And when I called out the top, I left with my head held high, knowing that I had put 3 great years into it and was moving on to something better. Kevin Dalton with the quote, well, not the quote X because it's a screenshot, to the 4.7 million fast food workers in the country. This is what the Democrat Party thinks of you. And yet, they'd still be out there begging for their votes. If Donald Trump hadn't gone to a McDonald's. Oh my God. Wow, that's a disturbing thought. But all disturbing thoughts are welcome here. Thank you, Leon Fowle. Says, Soul Harris dresses Santa Claus, handing out free condoms to one-up Trump. I mean, I probably can't do it for copyright purposes, but I feel like there's going to be the whole Marilyn Monroe dance with Harris dressed up as Santa Claus, too. Santa baby. Where's Harris' voice for that one? Santa baby. Yeah, I didn't put the Arnold Palmer stuff in because it was disturbing. And I like to drink Arnold Palmer's, so I don't want to think about that. But there is a reason that those come in such a big can. Magua says, the fryer, it is large. Not as large as Arnold Palmer's junk. That was massive. Yes, apparently it's not enough to have the abortion van at the DNC. We also have to have condoms. From Harris dressed as Santa Claus. Thank you so much. I am not going to sleep tonight. Which sucks because I didn't sleep last night either. I ate stupidly last night and I paid the price for it. Why is my own homemade ice cream so delicious, and why did I think I could eat that much of it at 10 p.m. without any consequence? The world may never know. Alright, so this video I have not watched because I was busy listening to the Brett Baer interview. But this actually was in the closest big city to where I live. The Foo, Politibunny, says, let's recap, shall we? Gretchen Whitmer mocks Catholics with a Dorito Eucharist, which I have seen pictures of, and it's disturbing. Harris skips the Al Smith dinner and sends obnoxious recorded skit in her place, which I have on the stack. Kamala doesn't want Jesus at her rally. Bad week for Democrats and faith.
With the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
It's hard to hear with the way, and they cranked up the volume for it, but yeah, you can hear the guy in the background screaming, Jesus is Lord.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Are they now? Are they at the wrong rally?
No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
She said that.
With the intention that they would undo the protection.
She said that. From the New York Post, Christian students in Wisconsin speak out after Kamala Harris told them they were at the wrong rally. From Ryan King. A pair of Christian students trolled by Harris and mercilessly mocked by the crowd at her rally at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse last week insist that they were there for the right reasons. No names on this one. Both juniors at the school told Fox and Friends Weekend that they felt persecuted akin to Jesus and his early followers after they were shouted such things as Christ is King when the Democrat vice president and presidential candidate started talking about abortion rights. One of them said that Harris even sarcastically waved to him and gave him an evil smirk as he held up the cross around his neck and pointed to her while being booted with his pal. Yeah, they were thrown out of that rally for that. I was pushed by an elderly woman, we were heckled, we were cursed at, we were mocked, and that's the biggest thing for me personally, the student said in reflection of the event. Jesus was mocked. You know, his disciples were mocked, and that's okay. In reality, we did God's work, and we were there for the right reasons, and God was watching us in this moment, he said. I'm all about being a cordial person no matter your beliefs, but I do believe that we were sent there by God. Well, You made Kamala Harris do something insanely stupid, so... Palm says, there are Christians who vote left. Way to fucking go, Kamala. Yeah, I mean... My friend Vong aside, the Catholic voting bloc, for whatever reason I don't understand because of the abortion thing, is actually typically very, very reliably left-wing. I don't know why they're reliably left-wing, but they're typically, the Catholic voting bloc typically votes Democrat consistently. Let's see. The pair were shouting Christ is King and Jesus is Lord while getting shoved by some of the rally-goers. Eventually, Harris paused her speech and trolled them. You guys are at the wrong rally. She needled to raucous applause from the crowd. I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street. That moment went viral on social media. That might have ended the campaign. By the way. Harris' speech centered in part around the economy and other developments of the 2024 cycle. At one point, she briefly opined on abortion and ripped into the GOP for former President Trump for nominating 3 of the U.S. Supreme Court justices who helped overturn the related protections first put into law, no, not put into law, put into decision, it was never a law, by Roe v. Wade. One person in attendance said the duo were roughly 20 to 30 yards from where Harris was standing. At the event, at the time, she described her as giving an evil smirk to them at one point. She was actually waving to me. I took this cross off my neck that I wear, and as we were getting asked to leave, I held it up in the air and waved it at her and pointed at her. She looked directly in the eye, kind of gave me an evil smirk, he recounted. Alright. Mog says, I think she was talking to the illegally crossed border Mexican that was Jesus. You don't need to be here. Leanne followed. Did anyone catch the symbolism on what she said? She said, you're at the wrong rally. You want the smaller one down the street. No, I got it. She was referring to a Trump rally. And they're small crowd size. Palm says, when I was a kid, the Catholic church I went to was advertising for Bush. Get the fuck away from them. Fuck, that's worse than Harris. Leon says, broad is the path that leadeth to destruction, narrow is the path that leadeth to salvation. So she's a representative of Satan. The Mogwai says, his followers being mocked were the least of their problems, considering they were stoned, imprisoned, and crucified. I've been stoned, but never imprisoned. Or crucified, for that matter. What is this? No. I don't want that. I want this in a new window. Got a detour from the New York Post. Biden on Trump 14 days before 2024 election. We gotta lock him up, man! This is not going to go the way that you want it to. Retiring President Biden stunned listeners on Tuesday by saying his predecessor Trump should be locked up 14 days before the election in which Trump is the nominee. Look, man, I said this 5 years ago. You'd lock me up. No, they wouldn't. We gotta lock him up, Biden said during a visit to the Democratic campaign office in Concord, New Hampshire. After a 4-second pause during which his audience enthusiastically applauded, Biden added in an apparent backtrack attempt. Politically, man, lock him up or lock him out. That's what we gotta do. This guy, by the way, is fucking with his fellow Democrats. There is no way he's not at this point. He said that on purpose because he's still pissed for the fact that he got pushed aside. Joe Biden just admitted the truth, and Kamala's plan all along has been to politically persecute his opponent, or her opponent rather, Donald Trump, because they can't beat him fair and square. Trump campaign spokeswoman Carolyn Leavitt said in a statement, "The Harris-Biden admin is the real threat to democracy. We call on Harris to condemn Biden's disgraceful remark." A person close to Biden, who often misspeaks in public, told the Post that the president's follow-up comment meant that he hadn't intended to call for Trump to be incarcerated. No, he did. He did exactly that. That was on purpose. Because now every pro-Trump outlet can come back and say that they're trying to throw him in jail, and he has been throwing Harris under the bus numerous times. That is fantastic. Now, after this campaign rally event, going back to the story we were at, Harris makes pitch to black churches after telling protesters praising Jesus, "You're at the wrong rally," from Danielle Wallace. Vice President Harris made campaign stops at black churches in Georgia over the weekend, days after sparking controversy among Christian Americans by telling protesters praising Jesus, "You're at the wrong rally." Harris celebrated her 60th birthday at two black churches outside of Atlanta on Sunday, while Trump was working at a McDonald's, as part of a nationwide push known as Souls to the Polls to encourage black voters to participate in early voting. After the congregation at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, sang happy birthday to her, Harris made the veiled dig at her opponent, former President Trump, while speaking about her faith. I mean, and that is the extent of her campaign. We'll go over the Bret Baier interview a little bit later. But yeah, she has nothing else. I'm not Trump. That's all that she has. And yes, that is awfully rich for her to go to a black church for her 60th birthday the day after doing this. 2 days after doing this. 3 days, it looks like. Because this was on Thursday. I think they're trying to lose this election, honestly. Alright, we're going to do the Al Smith dinner in just a moment. You check into this. Mock says, different type of stoned. Palm asks if I got the munchies. Yes, being stoned typically made me hungry. Mock says, Mr. Biden, please go over there. No, not over there. Here, over there. Oh, Jesus help me. Did Kamala tell me I need to go to the rally down the street? See what I did there? I like that. So, the Al Smith dinner, which is typically attended by political rivals, I mean, this is a typical thing for them to do. This is not something that gets skipped. But it also featured Jim Gaffigan doing something that I didn't think Jim Gaffigan had in him. And I did listen to this before. Clint Russell of Liberty Lockpot again, breaking Jim Gaffigan just lost all of his future comedy specials on Netflix. Let's listen.
The Democrats have been telling us Trump's re-election is a threat to democracy. In fact, they were so concerned of this threat, they staged a coup, ousted their democratically elected incumbent, and installed Kamala Harris. In other words, all her dreams have come true. Really? It really makes you consider the power of prayer, right, Cardinal? Sometimes prayers take 3.5 years and a George Clooney op-ed. Yeah. The Democrats have been telling us Trump.
Yeah, he's probably done on the comedy circuit. Which is funny, because to be a comedian now, you do have to hold certain views and pass a certain smell test to even get in there. From AOL.com News, which I didn't even know still existed before today. Reposting from the New York Post, comedian Jim Gaffigan scorching takedowns of Dems at Al Smith dinner goes viral. Murder of an entire political party, from Emily Crane. Comedian Jim Gaffigan's blistering swipes at VP Harris and fellow Democrats at the Al Smith dinner spread like wildfire on social media, with some calling his takedown jokes the murder of an entire political party. Gaffigan repeatedly took shots at the Democratic nominee during Thursday night's glitzy event in Manhattan after Harris became the first candidate in 40 years to skip the lighthearted Catholic charity bash. You know, this event has been referred to as the Catholic Met Gala. 22% of Americans identify as Catholic. Catholics will be a key demographic in every battleground state. I'm sorry, why is the vice president not here? The jokester said as he emceed the charity dinner. Standing just seats away from Chuck U. Schumer and former President Trump, Gaffigan elicited rowdy laughs as he ridiculed Harris for making time for other platforms instead, including the sex-focused podcast Spank My Ass Daddy. I mean, consider this. This is a room full of Catholics and Jews in New York City. This is a layup for the Democratic nominee, Gaffigan said. In her defense, I mean, she did find time to appear on The View, Howard Stern, Colbert, and the longtime staple of campaigning, the Call Her Daddy podcast, he continued. You know what I think it is? I think she just doesn't like me. Chuck, do I have bad breath? At one point, the Saturday Night Live gangster also joked that the Democrats opting to replace Biden with Harris because they fear a Trump win so much. The Democrats have been telling us Trump's re-election is a threat to democracy. In fact, they were so concerned of this threat, they staged a coup, ousted their democratically elected incumbent, and installed Kamala Harris, Gaffigan said. So, his career is over. Excuse me. In other words, all of her dreams have come true. It really makes me consider the power of prayer, right, Cardinal? Sometimes prayers take 3.5 years in a George Clooney op-ed. That's sad. I like Jim Gaffigan. The Donald, on the other hand, friend of the show, definitely not advice, who's at Still Not Advice over on X, said Donald Trump turned into Dean Martin. He's roasting the absolute fuck out of the Democrats tonight. Let's listen.
All polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote, as I should be. But I don't think Kamala has given up yet. She hasn't. Instead of attending tonight, she's in Michigan receiving communion from Gretchen Whitmer. That's not a pretty sight. But Catholics, please don't be too insulted by Kamala's absence. If the Democrats, he says, thank you very much, I appreciate it. If Democrats really wanted to have someone not be with us this evening, they would have just sent Joe Biden. All polls are indicating I'm leading big with the Catholic vote.
I do like butterscotch, by the way. Mog says Kmart is gone, but AOL is still around. Hell is at the door. We covered the Kmart decline a couple of weeks ago, but yes, as of this week, Kmart is officially dead. The last store in New York closed on, I believe it was Friday, was its last day of business. Says my career is over. I do like butterscotch. Here's one to Chuck Schumer.
Strong a certain way, I won't tell you. Coming and very, very strong a certain way. I won't tell you what way that is, but Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't it look glum? It looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. Coming and very, very strong a certain way. I won't tell you.
I kind of like the cuck joke that came next.
There's a group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. Every one of those people is voting for me.
I'll do 2 more. Well, I've only got 2 more to do. Thank you, Steph, by the way, for organizing this thread.
Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. There's nothing to say. I guess I just don't see the point of taking shots at myself when other people have been shooting at me for a hell of a long time and they shoot hard. Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell.
Yeah, Mark says Trump's roast jokes are just his campaign notes. Yeah, those are the kinds of things that we heard in the debates too.
I'd like to thank our MC this evening, Jim Gaffigan. Most recently, Jim has been playing Tim Walsh on Saturday Night Live. And that'll be a very short gig, I hope, Jim. But it was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? Let's see how that lasts. It better be quick. We don't want him, and I'm not going to say anymore. But unfortunately, Governor Walsh isn't here himself, but don't worry, he'll say that he was. He's going to say he was. I'd like to thank our MC this evening, Jim Gaffigan.
That was good. That was good. All right, so that was the highlight reel of that. From CBS News, Trump attends Al Smith dinner for Catholic Charities while Harris appears in pre-recorded video. Former President Trump headlined the annual Al Smith dinner, a Catholic charity event in New York on Thursday night, where he was jeered 8 years ago as he delivered a pointed speech targeting his 2016 opponent, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. VP Harris didn't attend the event in person, declining to leave the campaign trail in the battleground states where polls show the presidential race is very tight, but she did appear on screen in a recorded video for a brief address to the dinner. The white tie dinner in New York raises millions of dollars for Catholic charities and has traditionally offered candidates from both parties the chance to trade lighthearted barbs and show they can get along, or at least pretend to, for one night in the election's final stretch. So, who was there? Trump was accompanied at the dinner by Melania, who's been an infrequent presence on the campaign trail. The two have not appeared in public together since the convention in July. Eric Adams also attended, with past mayors Michael Bloomberg and Bill de Blasio. Kathy Hochul was there, Speaker Johnson, Letitia James, who brought a successful civil fraud case against Trump. We will see with that. RFK Jr. was greeted with applause as he arrived with his wife, actress Cheryl Hines. Kennedy dropped his independent bid for the White House over the summer and endorsed Trump. Jim Gaffigan emceed the sold-out dinner, which cost $5,000 per attendee. Proceeds benefit Catholic charities in New York. Guys, we got to make contemporary bigger because I want to get invited to this. I want to go to this at one point and take palm. We'll go to the Catholic dinner in New York and pay $5,000 for a plate. All right. Speaking of Harris, I will not make you listen and sit down and go through the clips. I listened to the Brett Baer interview with Harris, and it is as bad as you think it is. And I do encourage you to go listen to it for yourself if you have not already. I did a refresher listen just while I was organizing the show notes. I gave a listen to it again. I will give Harris credit over the ability to get in the "I'm speaking" with Brett Baer because she was denied it in the debate. And she sat down and gave non-answers for 26 minutes. in an event that was supposed to be 45 minutes. Now, as far as this goes, all that I know now about Harris is that the only platform that she has is screaming about abortion and saying that she is not Trump and she's not Biden. Yes, I'm serious. That was the entire conversation. Anytime she was asked a question, she says, well, this is why I've taken down people like Trump, and I'm not Donald Trump, and I'm not Joe Biden. And it was very sad to listen to, but I still encourage you to do so. This is from Brian Stelter, so this is going to be intelligent to say the least. Interviewers make a choice every time they sit down with a newsmaker and start to ask questions. Do they start by warming their subject up or go straight for the jugular? Bret Baier chose one way when interviewing Trump and a very different way when interviewing Harris. A detailed review of the two interviews showed a marked difference in Fox's treatment of the two top candidates for president. Last year, Baier was praised by media critics for challenging Trump. In key moments, Baier's interview put Trump on his heels, forcing him to formulate slipshod excuses for his conduct. However, Baier did not talk over Trump nearly as much as he interrupted Harris. The Fox anchor's first question to Trump was also a softball. I've asked this question, the same first question, to all candidates I've interviewed this year, Baier said, and that is this: what do you think the most important issue facing the country is right now? Which he did ask that to Harris, but that was further down the line. Trump spoke for 45 seconds and brought up the economy, the southern border, the military, woke politics, and other topics Baier did not interrupt. Baier's first question to Harris was much more pointed. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country in the last 3.5 years? Harris spoke for 11 seconds before Baier interjected and asked for a specific number. Harris indicated that she wanted to speak more broadly about a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired, and Baier interrupted again. The host referenced instances of illegal immigrants committing heinous crimes in the U.S. and asked if Harris regretted the policy decisions that allowed the criminals into the country. The back and forth evolved from there. So, and yes, for 26 minutes, it was all, I'm not Donald Trump. Joe Biden's not on the ticket. I'm not Donald Trump. NPR. Harris gets an interview on Fox, gets testy, but also gives her a do-over. This is from Tamara Keith, and keep in mind, NPR is only 10% government funded. That is right. They need our money, comrade. So make sure you hit that donate button, because the advertising budget is not enough for them to tell you how evil anybody who is to the right of Stalin is. That's right. Make sure you hit that donate button. Because it's not your money, comrade. It's our money. NPR is never printing reality. National Progressive Radio. Let's see what it is that they have to say. In her first formal sit-down interview with Fox News, Harris tangled repeatedly with Bret Baier as he pressed her on immigration policies and positions she took in 2019 when she was running for president that she no longer holds. Which is funny because the NPRs of the world hold Donald Trump to the Central Park Five from the 80s. Let's see. What do we have here? RFK Jr. went to the gala, but he wouldn't greet the cook in the kitchen for some reason. Weird. But we do need a reason to dress up. Why is RFK a jerk? There's a lot of reasons for that. Why is RFK a jerk? Let's schedule another hour on Contemporary. Mogg says Harris went on Fox News thinking it would go well. What was she smoking to think that that could be good? I still say turn off Fox, by the way. Mogg, incorrectly of course, says Harris going on Fox News ranks right up there with entering W in a spelling bee. which I will push back on again because W actually was very, very smart and very evil. He played dumb so that all the blame would go to Dick Cheney. But he himself was not a stupid man. He was an evil man. About halfway through the intense 30-minute interview, Bear asked Harris questions she didn't answer very well in a more friendly interview last week on The View and The Late Show with Colbert. What would she do differently from Biden? This time she was prepared. My presidency will not be a continuation of Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life's experiences, my professional experiences, fresh and new ideas, Harris said. I represent a new generation of leadership, even though she's, 60. Why does she get a second chance, though? I want to see this. They don't say any reason why she gets a second chance in this. I think that was just for the clickbait. I like that, though. Harris blamed Trump for sinking a border security bill, even though he's not in office. And the bill had very little to do with border security. It was a blanket check for the Ukraine and Israel. I read the bill cover to cover. I know. $12.5 billion for the Ukraine and Israel, and $500,000 for border security. Mogg says they make a big deal about illegal immigrants committing crimes, but when they're cleaning their houses, cutting the lawns, or any other manual labor that they would not do, they are enraged. Then. No, not at work, and I haven't done it for quite a while either, but yes, when there's a big controversial bill, especially like the Border Security Act that 4chan goes through and finds all the pork in that, I find those bills and I read them cover to cover. I've read the ACA cover to cover. I've read the Border Security Bill cover to cover. I read some of the omnibus. That I didn't get through all the way because that is 1,300 pages. But yeah, just like the price gouging bill that Biden tried to put out. I read that one cover to cover. There was nothing to do with price gouging in that bill. In fact, that would have given corporations that donate to the Democrat Party more power. To set and control prices. And the federal government also more discretion on whether or not they could take down a business for political reasons. There have been some fucking stinkers that came through. Not only this past this current Congress, but the last one and the one before that as well. If you ever have a chance, and typically if there's a big controversial one, I put it in the Discord in its full text. You should read the bullshit that they're trying to shove down our throats. Alright, the last one on the Bear interview, and then we got to keep going. We've still got a bunch of stuff to go over, and we're running up on the clock. I'm not going to do 3 hours like I did last week, I can tell you that. Ben Shapiro breaks down Harris's Fox News interview. Full-scale disaster from Tim Pierce. Ben Shapiro reviewed Vice President Harris's interview on Fox News after it aired on Wednesday evening, calling it a full-scale disaster area for her campaign for president. Harris sat for an interview with Bret Baier on Wednesday. Wow. I thought it was going to be great. Or I thought it was not going to be great. I did not think it was going to be that not great, Shapiro said. So listen, okay, gang, Kamala Harris has been avoiding difficult interviews this entire election cycle. The most difficult interview she did was with Bill Whitaker, and 60 Minutes chopped it up to make her look better. Okay, gang, and that did not happen with Bret Baier, and it was a full-scale disaster area for her, he continued. The host then went through some of Harris's worst moments, beginning with the first issue, immigration.
Okay, gang, she immediately swiveled. She will not answer this question. She won't just say, listen, okay, we blew it in the beginning. We reversed Donald Trump's executive orders, and we got it right now. We understand, okay, gang, the problem. And the idea. And the idea, okay? But she can't do that because she wants to say that she owns it. But she wasn't involved in every decision.
Throughout the interview, she overwhelmingly preferred to redirect former President Donald Trump than to answer questions about her record in the Biden admin.
Okay, man, okay, gang, she looked bad. She looked absolutely awful. She looked contentious. She looked angry at Bret Baier for having the temerity, the audacity, okay, gang, to ask her any sort of serious question. She's got to be super ticked at her team for suggesting she do Bret Baier in the first place, okay, gang? She's unwilling or unable to answer any question about policy at all in this election cycle.
Here's the instant reaction.
Alrighty, folks. So Kamala Harris just completed her interview with Bret Baier on Fox News, and it was, as advertised, a complete bleep show. By the way, if you like these reacts, if you want to see these things continue to happen in real time, we do need your help. You need to go subscribe, dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code REACT. You get 35% off. We're going to keep bringing you these updates, not only in the election season, but well past that. So dailywire.com/subscribe, 35% off with code REACT. Okay, so on to the news. Kamala Harris. Wow. I thought it was not going to be great. I did not think it was going to be that not great. So, listen, Kamala Harris has been avoiding difficult interviews this entire election cycle. The most difficult interview she did was with Bill Whitaker, and 60 Minutes chopped it up to make her look better. That did not happen with Bret Baier, and it was a full-scale disaster area for her. So he opened right off the bat by asking her about illegal immigration. He said, how many illegal immigrants have been let into the country under you? And she immediately swivels. She will not answer the question. She won't just say, listen, we blew it at the beginning. We reversed Donald Trump's executive orders. We got it right now. We understand the problem. That's Joe. That's not me. Right? That's the actual real answer. But she can't do that because she also wants to say that she owns it, that she was involved in every decision. Later on in this interview, by the way, she would be talking about Donald Trump, and she would suggest you have to own everything your administration did. Well, lady, that's going to be a campaign ad because it turns out people do not like what you have done. In fact, Bret Baier asked her, you keep saying, you're going to turn the page. So Bret Baier's like, from what? You're the current vice president of the United States. You realize Americans, 79% of them, don't like the direction of the country. You're the current incumbent. And she said, well, yes, but Donald Trump has been running. He said, well, yeah, but you're the current vice president of the United States of America. What the
Yeah, she floundered at that one, too.
hell does Donald Trump running have to do with anything? No answer from her. He asked about Laken Riley and other people slain by illegal immigrants, and she tried to blame that on the failure to pass a border bill in 2023. Okay, but the problem is that the illegal immigrants who were let in well before that border bill was even proposed to Congress. So it makes no sense whatsoever.
All right, I can't listen to that anymore. I can't listen to Ben's voice for very long. I've listened to his full podcast before, but I have to break it up typically if I do. All right, what else do we have? Let's drop this one. Let's do this one because it's entertaining. And we'll do this one because it's entertaining too. I'm going to pick the fun ones. Alright, from the New York Times. Vulnerable Senate Democrat promotes Trump ties in new ad. From Chris Cameron. Bob Casey of Pennsylvania, a Democrat, distances himself from the Biden admin and highlights his support of certain Trump admin policies in a new TV campaign ad that aired in parts of the state on Friday, signaling a last-minute appeal to the former president's supporters in a crucial battleground state. Which, by the way, tells me that Bob Casey believes that Pennsylvania is going to go Trump. And I tend to agree with him on that one. Bob says, his voice is the first thing you hear when you get to hell. In the ad, two voters, a married couple made up of Republican and Democrat in Old Forge, Pennsylvania, praised Casey as an independent lawmaker, saying that he bucked Biden to protect fracking, and he sided with Trump to end NAFTA and put tariffs on China. The spot aired nearly 100 times in Pennsylvania on Friday, frequently in heavily Republican areas such as Johnstown and Altoona, according to the data provided by the tracking firm Ad Impact. So, that is happening, which means that Bob Casey's career as a Democrat is probably 1 to 2 days from over at this point. Now, why is he doing that? Just a brief one here. Donald Trump ally rebuked by must-win state's largest newspaper. The editorial board of the Philadelphia Inquirer endorsed Democratic Senator Bob Casey and rebuked his Trump-backed challenger, Republican Dave McCormick, on Saturday. Well, that's going to be awkward because Bob Casey just changed to go with Trump. But again, the why. From the New York Post, Cook Political Report moves Pennsylvania Senate race from lean Democrat to toss-up. I'm the change candidate, GOP hopeful Dave McCormick says. Bob Casey's trying to stay in power, guys. From Ethan Dodd. The race between three-term incumbent Bob Casey and Republican challenger Dave McCormick is now rated as a toss-up, and the self-described underdog tells the Post he expects only more gains at the polls. The highly regarded bipartisan Cook Political Report moved the race from lean Democrat Monday after recent surveys showed McCormick tied and even leading through Real Clear Politics average, still has Casey ahead by 1.9 points. For an incumbent, that might be the end. McCormick learned the news while touring gas wells in Washington County to Pittsburgh's southwest. This race is extremely competitive and I'm the underdog, the GOP businessman told the Post. So, by the way, that is the second surefire senatorial incumbent race this cycle that's gone to toss-up at this point. Of course, the Hovde and Baldwin race here in Wisconsin being the first. But Tammy Baldwin is in zero position to come back and try to pull this same stunt. Alright, what else do we have? Liberator suggests Biden and Obama may have dissed Kamala at Ethel Kennedy's funeral. From Hank Berrien. A professional liberator who analyzed the conversation between Barack Obama and Joe Biden at Ethel Kennedy's memorial service is suggesting the two Democrat heavyweights were having a not-so-flattering discussion about Harris. According to Jeremy Freeman, a forensic liberator who was born deaf and has served as University College London certified expert witness for litigants, Biden said to Obama, "She's not as strong as me, man." To which Obama responded, "I know, that's true. We have time," prompting Biden to reply, "Yeah, we'll get it in time," the New York Post reported. The liberator never catches Biden or Obama saying Harris, leaving much uncertainty about what the two were discussing. Biden spokesman Andrew Bates dismissed the translation, saying, "A lip reading expert? Did your usual right-wing soothsayer have their out of office up? Or only Biden and Obama know what they discussed? But this certainly wasn't it." Well, see, Andrew, you don't know that either. So, maybe sit this one out. The strained relationship between Harris and Biden, however, has spilled out through political reporters who cover them. The relationship between Harris's team and Biden's White House has been increasingly fraught in the final weeks before the election day. 10 anonymous sources, unnamed sources familiar with the situation, tell Axios. Some on the Harris team say the top White House aides aren't sufficiently coordinating Biden's messaging and schedule to align with what's best for the vice president's campaign. Several Biden aides have joined Harris's campaign, but some feel like they've been labeled as disloyal by Biden's team for leaving or even considering it. So that's fun. All right. We're going to do one more on domestic side. And then we will look at a little bit of foreign. Then we will do things I like and things I hate and head out of here for the night. On the domestic side, from Politico, live updates. Alex Eisenstadt reporting Trump set to go on Rogan's podcast. It is confirmed. I don't know if it will be released on Friday or if it's being recorded on Friday, but it is confirmed officially. Former President Trump is expected to record an interview with podcasting behemoth Joe Rogan on Friday, so it will be on Friday. It will probably get released on Monday then. Rogan, who has more than 14 million followers on Spotify, has long occupied the top positions in national podcast ratings, and Trump's appearance on his show continues the campaign's push to win young male voters. In recent weeks, Trump has appeared on such male-friendly podcasts as This Week with Theo Vaughn, Full Send, a show hosted by pro-Trump Nelk Boys. Trump has never appeared on Rogan's podcast. The two have had a complicated relationship. In August, Trump called out Rogan after the podcaster claimed that politicians on both sides are manipulative except for RFK Jr., which is a lie. It'll be interesting to see how loudly Rogan gets booed the next time he enters the UFC ring. MAGA 2024, Trump posted of Rogan, who's a UFC commentator. Let's fucking go. I'm ready. I don't listen to Rogan very often unless he's got a guest that I actually like. Or a guest that I want to hear what he's got to say. Like, I don't like RFK Jr., but I listened to the Rogan RFK Jr. interview. And I determined that RFK Jr. is a weird motherfucker, by the way. I can't wait to hear this. I'm ready. I want to see what he's able to pull out of Trump. This might tank Trump's campaign, by the way. I don't think it will at this point, but it might. You know how I know this is going to be effective? The New Republic, which is a left-leaning op-ed page. Trump cancels all of his events in favor of one of the worst people ever. I'm ready. I'm ready to see it. So, let's go. Alright, let's do a little bit of foreign policy, then we'll head out of here for the night. From Axios, pro-Iranian account leaks alleged U.S. intel on Israel's attack plans, from Barak Ravid. Yes, by the way, if you were unaware, Israel is planning on launching an attack on Iran directly. And nobody in the government, by the way, has denied this, which bothers me. U.S. officials are extremely concerned about a potentially major security breach after two alleged U.S. intelligence documents about Israel's preparations for an attack on Iran were published by a Telegram account affiliated with Iran. The alleged leak comes as Israel completes weeks of preparations for a retaliation against Iran, which attacked Israel with a barrage of ballistic missiles on October 1st. The leak could be an attempt to disrupt the Israeli operation. The Pentagon and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence declined to comment on the leaked documents, but did not dispute the authenticity. A Telegram channel by the name of Middle East Spectator claimed on Friday it had received documents from the source in the U.S. intelligence community about Israel's preparations for an attack on Iran. The alleged report details measures that have been carried out in recent days at several Israeli Air Force bases, including the transfer of advanced munitions, which, according to the report, were intended for an attack on Iran. And this, by the way, is what our friend Leon was talking about much earlier in the stream. Leon Fowle pointing out. Let me see if I can find it again. Yeah. He's addressing how both he and Harris are wanting to attack Iran for Israel. I thought there was something else on that. I thought he said more. Apparently he didn't. Anyway. So, this is frightening. Because this would be a big one. And by the way, a reminder that Persia and Israel going to war is one of the major kickoff points of the book of Revelation. Along with Gog and Magog. There's some arguments over where Gog and Magog are on the map, but we are very, very, very certain as to where Persia and Israel are and what they represent in the book of Revelation. So, but also realistically, they're planning on doing this. The U.S. intelligence had the reports, so they knew that they're planning on doing this, and it appears that they condoned this. The FBI, of course, is investigating from Fox News. FBI investigating classified docs leak of U.S. intel on Israel, planned strike on Iran. The FBI is investigating the leak of classified documents that included top secret U.S. intelligence on Israel's planned attack on Iran, Fox News Digital has confirmed. The FBI is investigating the alleged leak of classified documents and is working closely with our partners at the Department of Defense and intelligence community. The Bureau said in a statement, "This is an ongoing investigation. We have no further comment." I don't necessarily care so much about who leaked it. I mean, I kind of want to give that guy a medal because, you know, we should be told when a nuclear power is going after another potential nuclear power who's allied with one of the biggest nuclear powers in the fucking world. We should probably know these things. And again, they're not denying this. The documents were attributed to U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Security Agency, and noted that Israel was still moving military assets in place to conduct a military strike in response for the ballistic missile attack on October 1st. The documents were shareable within the Five Eyes, which are the U.S., Great Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, which is another problem that they can use all of these channels to go back and spy on their own citizens. And lastly, North Korean troops seen being equipped on Russia ahead of likely deployment into Ukraine. So, Russia and North Korea have apparently, I don't know if they have an official alliance, but they have a comfortable enough working relationship that they're going to send troops into the Ukraine, allegedly. North Korean soldiers have been filmed receiving uniforms and equipment at the training ground in Russia's Far East, appearing to confirm reports from South Korea's National Intelligence Service that 1,500 soldiers have been shipped over for military training to be deployed in Ukraine. The North Korean troops are thought to be receiving training before being sent to the front line in Ukraine, in what is thought to be a clear sign of ever-warming relations between Moscow and Pyongyang. In a video shared with CNN by Ukrainian government organization, the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Communication and Information Security, A long line of soldiers can be seen queuing to receive their uniforms. The soldiers are thought to be speaking Korean, although the low-quality audio prevented the discussions from being fully understood. Upon arriving in Russia, the North Korean recruits have been asked to fill out a questionnaire, providing their sizing for hats, headgear, uniforms, and shoes. In a copy of the questionnaire shared with CNN, the top of the form is written in Russian, while the various size options are written in Korean. A copy of the questionnaire North Korean soldiers filled out after arriving in Russia, providing their sizing for hats, headgear, uniforms, and shoes. Another video circulating on social media, geolocated by CNN, showed groups arriving at the Sergivka training ground close to Russia's border with China. In the video, a Russian speaker can be heard in the background saying, "We can't film them," before adding, "There are more. There are millions of them here. Here are the new reinforcements. This is just the beginning. There are more." Before we head out of here, let's look at the map. Because we should at least know what's all going on here. Open in maps. And let's drag this over here. So North Korea only shares a very, very small border with Russia. I actually forgot that they did because it's so small. But on that region of China, it doesn't go all the way out to the sea. And Russia provides a little bit of a buffer between that part of China and Japan. Probably for strategic purposes. So, I mean, they're all coming basically through here or getting sent out. I don't know if China is going to allow them to use airspace or train space at this point, so. But then yes, they're going on the long, long journey to get from here to here, possibly with some training as they go. So. Are you ready for a world war with nuclear powers? I mean, I've been playing Fallout for quite a while, so I've got some preparation going with this. I just didn't think it was going to come this quickly. Going to make for some interesting politics this week and these next 2 weeks, I can tell you that. Alright, so with that, we are done with the news. And now, we're going to go on to the closing part of the show, which is longer than I wanted it to be. And we are past the 2-hour mark as well, so we will have a look. Well, the first thing that we do on every Tuesday night when we do Contemporary is we look at the Ferengi Rules of Acquisition. This is the Ferengi religion explaining how the hyper-capitalistic large-eared aliens interact with other races and alien species of the galaxy in trade and commerce. And following these rules to the T not only earns you profit, but gives you social credit that you can take into the next life and bid on a new life in the Divine Treasury. Every week, we read one of these rules. We talk about how it can be used, if it can be used in real life. Remember, Roddenberry wasn't about communists, so some of these are more mockeries of capitalism than actual suggestions into what to do. And if it can be used in real life, how we can use it in real life. The 22nd Rule of Acquisition from the DS9 episode Rules of Acquisition, which I believe was the first one that introduced Grand Nagus Zek. A wise man can hear profit in the wind. And there are people, and you know these people, who are talented enough that if a business opportunity is sitting there, that's the first thing that they see and they try to seize on it. I have a cousin like that. I can do a bit of it as well, especially when it comes to sales. and being in sales, I can hear the profit in the wind. And I try to do whatever I can to keep on with it. So a wise man can hear profit in the wind. Some of you have talent, some of you don't. And for those of you who do, I hope that you can exploit it. Alright, let's do some things that I like and some things that I hate. Things that I like. I was a little bit Pokemon'd out when I finished off with Leaf Green because I'd been just doing grinding for several weeks. So while I have started a playthrough of Pokemon Soul Silver to go down because I want to play all the generations and the remakes when possible at this point, right in a row, I did start that, but I also decided that I wanted to do some Zelda in my life. So this one I will probably not do on stream because we're doing BioShock next, and I've owned this since April, and I don't want to sit and wait for another 6 months to get down to this game. So I'm doing this off stream. I might come back and do it on stream, but it won't be as a first playthrough, quote, first playthrough. And that is, of course, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, a remake made for the Switch from a very, very, very fun Game Boy game and Game Boy Color game. So let's watch the trailer, and then I'll talk a little bit about my experience with it, having been through the first 2 dungeons. So this, of course, is a graphical remake of, and a little bit of hardware remake as well, because now you have 4 buttons, of the 1989 Game Boy game, Link's Awakening. And it's 1993 color remake. I think it was 3, might have been later than that. Which I enjoyed very much. I got the deluxe version when I was in middle school. I got that, and I played that. I played the hell out of that. I actually bought a Game Boy Color because I had the original green screen Game Boy at the time. And I got a color just so I could take advantage of the color dungeon and the extras that go with this. Now, of course, this follows the DX version, so the color dungeon is a part of this game. The graphics look fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's very true to its original identity. The puzzles are the same. There are a couple differences for the hardware and the fact that you can move in all directions instead of just your basic 4. The same struggle that I'm having with Mario RPG, by the way. It's definitely a lot of fun. I would like to play this on stream sometime, even though I will have finished it by the time we get it to stream. But I want to do it. I want to enjoy that. Yeah, definitely, if you have the hardware, the capability, go pick this one up. It is $60, unless you find a used one on eBay, which I am an advocate for, is going to the eBay and getting the used ones. But yeah, if you like Zelda, get it. And if you like the original especially, get it. It's true to form. They did a good job with it. Some other things that I like. Let's see here. Where's my cursor? There it is. They're so vindictive, coming from Politico, why some federal employees are fearing Trump 2.0. They're finalizing Biden priorities, dusting off the resumes, and delaying home repairs as they fear losing their jobs. From Robin Brevender, EPA employees are shuffling to safer agencies, and Interior Department workers buying a new car and poring over Project 2025, which again is bullshit, is not part of Trump's platform, and civil servants across the government are worried they might soon get fired. Federal employees throughout the executive branch are panicking at the thought of another Trump admin. Trump has pledged to demolish the deep state. His running mate, J.D. Vance, said that Trump ought to fire every civil servant in the administrative state. It's not just campaign trail bluster in the waning days of the first admin. Trump sought to make it easier to fire federal employees, a move that was quickly reversed by the Biden admin. Workers in some agencies are particularly distraught about a possible Trump return. The former president and his allies have singled out certain agencies, including those that issue environmental rules, as prime targets should it return to office in January. Climate, clean energy, and conservation programs scaled up and burnished with cash during the Biden admin, and certain to be lightning rods for Trump and his team that's looming large over the energy and environmental workers, who are feeling the pressure on a professional level as they're hustling to get Biden's priorities wrapped up in the coming month. It's also hitting them personally as they fear they might soon be out of a job. Look, I don't ever want to see someone to lose their job over political reasons. And I know you've got families, you've got mortgages, you've got cars. You have sympathy at that point, but as it comes, the federal government comes out and burnishes and pushes and creates more positions to get more people dependent on the taxpayer dole in positions that are either not needed, non-essential, which I'm sure that pissed a lot of people off when they found out they were non-essential employees, in a bloated administrative state, while our small businesses and even our big businesses scramble for workers, all getting snapped up by the federal government. Frankly, especially with the over-bloated pay of these federal positions, well, again, I have sympathy over the fact that these people are putting off major life decisions. I've been doing that for years at this point. This might push us into a deflationary period while people compete for the same jobs at a private level, instead of being guaranteed a, quote, certain wage from the federal government. I would like to see the federal government taken down to a bare bones situation. Now, state government, local government, you have my heart for that. I would rather see more positions at the state and local. Both the enforcement agents and the people who are trying to push for these things should still, like I always say, have to look the people that they're affecting directly in the eye at the grocery store. I'm a bit ashamed to say, though, I'm not sorry about this. I know it's mean, I know it's cold. But when your government is sitting here posting up positions to keep unemployment at a certain rate, I mean, the bottom's got to fall out at some point here. So, from the Daily Wire, I got a pair of those back to back. CNN fact checks Walz' lie about loss of jobs under Trump. From Katie Jerkovich. CNN analyst fact-check VP Harris's running mate, Tim Walz's lie about the loss of manufacturing jobs under President Trump. Walz appeared on The View on Monday and said Trump lost more manufacturing jobs than any president in American history. That's simply factual. Not one of the hosts of the ABC talk show pushed back on the lie, but CNN did and reported Walz's claim is false. Let's watch.
Let's talk about manufacturing. building back up manufacturing in the United States is a focus of both campaigns. I want to play for you what Vice Presidential candidate Tim Walz said about this yesterday.
We want to make sure that you're able to bring manufacturing like Kamala Harris has did. We know Donald Trump lost more manufacturing jobs than any president in American history. Yep. That's simply factual.
What are the facts here?
Well, if you're going to say something is simply factual, it should be factual. This is not. It's not true that the Trump presidency lost more manufacturing jobs than any other presidency. Under George W. Bush, there were about 4.5 million manufacturing jobs lost. Under Trump, it was about 178,000. Now, there are also more manufacturing jobs lost than under Trump, under Eisenhower, under Ford, under Reagan. So Trump does not have the record. I think it's also worth pointing out for context that these Trump job losses in manufacturing overwhelmingly occurred because of the COVID pandemic. Pre-pandemic, under Trump, there was a gain of about 414,000 manufacturing jobs. Again, he ended a negative 178,000, but that was largely because we had a pandemic-related crash.
Daniel Dale, great to see you as always. Thank you. John.
Oh, burn. And yes, I like the fact that they pointed out that 4.5 million were lost under Bush, who, for most of these people, is their new pet. They like Bush now because he's not Trump. I don't get it. I don't like Bush. But they like Bush now. Let's see. Other things that I like. North Dakota could be the first state in the country to end property taxes. Pom, you want to move to North Dakota? Voters in North Dakota will have the chance to get rid of the state's property taxes in November and become the first state in the nation to repeal the tax, potentially paving the way for others to follow suit. The ballot measure, called Measure 4, would not only repeal the state's property tax, but also bar cities and localities from instituting property taxes of their own. Rick Becker, the chair of an organization called End Unfair Property Tax, which got the measure placed in the North Dakota ballot, says that success in the Peace Garden state could encourage other states across the country to ditch their own property taxes. Once that happens, the light turns on for so many people. As soon as the state steps outside that box, the other states see how possible that is. Becker contended, the sky didn't fall and maybe we should give it a try. Although no states have repealed their property taxes, Texas, Nebraska, and Michigan have explored the idea, which the measures in the latter two states being proposed but failing to make the ballot. While Becker calls the property taxes the most egregious and least moral of all the taxes, others are working to oppose the measure to repeal them in the state, calling the ballot initiative a sledgehammer approach. I have not read Ballot Measure 4. In fact, I'm only finding out about this now. I am going to put a pin in this one and read the ballot measure. I'm actually going to put it over, stored on the other screen, because I want to see if they have the refunding mechanism, how they are planning on funding. Because let's face it, if you're going to swap this for a sales tax or a road toll, that's no better, with the exception of the fact that you can ding people from out of state for this. But as Pom pointed out, as I continue to point out how immoral property taxes are, that is the primary funding mechanism for schools, police, and emergency services. So, you have my attention. I would like to see a world where we all get to own our property outright and not have to pay rent on it to the government for the rest of our lives. I am interested. I'm not sold, but I'm interested. You have my attention. Alright, I got an op-ed here from The Hill. The opinions expressed in this article are the opinions of Harlan Ullman, not necessarily the opinions of The Hill, Contemporary, Turns of Pages Productions, or your host, J. Edgar. What if Biden was the better candidate all along? Which I think he really was, and that's sad. I think he was their best chance of winning in 24, which wasn't really high to begin with. Every time Harris gets a bump in polls, something happens and she loses it back again, because she is uniquely terrible at this and uniquely corrupt at the same time. These people can only sit here and call you mega morons for simply pointing out legitimate concerns for so long. Who was the original landowner? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if that's a trivia question or what the story is on that one. But no, I don't know that one, Lunacy. I'm sorry. With the November 5th election just a fortnight away, here's an intriguing thought experiment. By most accounts, the election is still a horse race too close to call, but although Harris quickly assumed the mantle and put in place an impressive startup, October has not been particularly kind to her. Trump has closed the electoral gaps, and some believe he's actually leading. He is, by the way. No matter who wins, we have to ask, would Biden have been a better candidate and choice despite suffering from the effects of age and 81 years? Further, suppose the disastrous June 27th debate with Trump had not taken place, or that Biden had been firing on all cylinders that night. Which, by the way, I think he threw that on purpose to get her in. Would Biden have been forced to withdraw? And whether Harris loses or wins, some will ask whether Biden might have still been the better candidate. Bob Woodward's new book, War, might not be dispositive in representing Biden's strengths and weaknesses. The book does add weight to the thought experiment, though. Woodward paints a very positive picture of Biden's ability to lead and govern, despite making mistakes, most notably the disastrous withdrawal from Kabul. Woodward also reports that Biden's obvious decline was physical and not mental. This was caused in part by prior medical conditions accelerating the effects of age on the body. There were also the strains of the high office. The president refused to limit his overworked schedule despite valid criticisms. He was on the near-permanent holiday in Delaware or Camp David. I think he would have been, honestly. And that's sad. But given his age and the fact that he can go off and hide in the basement and not be out in front because he has the incumbency off of this, they could have done the 2020 strategy with him again. And it would have been totally understandable and people might have bought into it. Thinking I'll run 200-year-old treaties through AI for layman's terms. Interesting. I think he might have been. I think the fact that he pulled might be the downfall to this one. So it is an interesting thought experiment, but for sure. But I also don't think he's as dumb as he put off to be. Do I have any more things that I like? Nope. Now the rest of it is things that I hate. This one. With my focus on suicide prevention especially, this is a big one for me. Phil Holloway. The Marine Corps vet was wearing a shirt that said, "Do not give in to the war within, end veteran suicide." He said, "You need to get off the plane. The shirt you're wearing is threatening." I don't even know how that was threatening or how Delta was able to come up with this. I hate this fact. I sat for 24 hours in this chair wearing not this set of headphones, a different one that was wired, for 24 hours to raise awareness for suicide prevention and raise money for it as well. And then I look at something like this and it's a slap in my face to hear that it's just people want to turn around and take that back away from me. I don't want to put malice to this, but it's frustrating. Harris on The Breakfast Club just said there should be a database for cops so they can't do bad things and get away with it by being passed around to other districts or departments to hide it. I've never heard a politician say that so clearly. Here's my problem with this. Now, I'm anti-government, so I'm anti-police to begin with. So this should be a slam dunk to me. Like, hey, let's put this database out there so that we don't get these people sent around to other places and have their records hidden. The problem that I have with this is that when socialists start making lists, there tend to be bigger problems that go along with this. And I watch something like this, and the alarm bells start going off in my head, because while a lot of cops are corrupt and they're holding up corrupted laws, I would say a plurality of them are $50,000 a year civil servants, public employees, just trying to bring back the bacon to the family. Especially when we get down into localities and sheriff's departments. I think a lot of them are more aligned with Carl Winslow. And now, on top of that, we have these departments that are saying they're not going to enforce some of the laws that are on the books. The sheriffs and the sheriff's departments are going to have their discretion. And I look at something like that, and I look at this like, okay, now these people are going to wind up on a database because they're not pulling the political line somewhere. When I look at anything like this, it's the first thing that I see is, how can this get misused? And it frightens me. The Alan Sanders Show says, except Trump proposed this early in his term, it was shot down by Democrats. That doesn't make it right. Morgue saying, no need for a database if you actually put them in jail instead of quietly firing them with full benefits and pensions. Which I also don't agree with. I have problems with this. I have big problems with this. Because this is rife for misuse. So, what I'm going to put here, when I'm going to read this Daily Wire article, goes along with what I was saying just a moment ago about Biden possibly being more lucid than he actually appeared on stage. But also, and I put this on things that I hate because this is Benny Boy saying the same thing that I said. Not as early as 2018. He actually beat me on this one, if this is all accurate. But what I said right from the time that I saw Harris being promoted as hard as she was in 2020. And we've got the video. It's a longer video, I think. Ben Shapiro predicted Harris's rise to the vice president, then to presidential candidate, years before the 2020 election. Shapiro predicted the Democrat Party's 2020-2024 strategies years in advance during a YAF event in University of Connecticut in January 2018. He said at the time, the smart strategy for Democrats heading into 2020 would be to nominate Biden, then out of office and have a leftist Democrat such as Harris run as his vice president. Biden said would then serve one term before being replaced at the top of the ticket by his far-left VP, Shapiro predicted. At the time, Shapiro thought the Democrat Party would cater to its radical wing and nominate a progressive such as Harris, then a senator from California, or Cory Booker. The smart move would be to nominate a more seemingly moderate candidate, such as Biden, according to Shapiro. And then, yes, adding the age question into everything, demonstrating the fact that, this is the reason we're pulling him right now, because he's fucking old. I think they lied to us on that, by the way, too. I don't think there's anything wrong with what's going on with Biden upstairs. I think he was playing a character just like fucking Bush. Let's listen.
Of Donald Trump and Joe Biden takes us back to the Pleistocene era. I think that Biden would probably be their best bet. I think they're going to make a very stupid mistake and nominate the most progressive person they can find. They'll nominate somebody like Kamala Harris or Cory Booker, because Cory Booker shouts and cries and largely makes a fool of himself in the Senate. But if they were smart, they would nominate Biden. What they would do if they were smart is they would nominate Biden, have him run with somebody like a Kamala Harris or a Cory Booker, and then say, I'm going to serve one term because I'm 70,000 years old. And then just hand it off second term to somebody else, and then Biden's achieved his life ambition, and he hands it off to the next in line. That's what I would do if I were the Democrats, but I don't want to give them advice. So please, guys, please run Kamala Harris or Cory Booker.
And I'll be fucking tickled they actually did that. And when I watched the whole thing happen, that was the first thing that I noticed too, was the fact that they did it right at the last minute. After all the primaries were done and all the other candidates were out, she didn't run in a single primary, and then all of a sudden she's up at the top of the ticket because She's Kamala Harris. She's the vice president. And they didn't have to go and try to put her in a primary like they did in 2020, where she failed miserably. And I mean, it all makes complete and perfect sense, so. Sybil A. Hashi over on X says, it's late at night and he's talking to the German press, being sharp and knowledgeable. We were lied to. With video. We're not going to go through all 10 minutes, but we've got video of Biden being lucid just a couple days ago, late at night. But they have the excuse that he's, like Ben said, 70,000 years old. So we might as well just step aside and give it over to the younger generation. Let's listen.
Sehr geehrter Herr Präsident, dear Joe, it is my great pleasure to welcome you here to the Chancellery in Berlin as a friend of Europe, as a friend of Germany, and above all, as my friend. Welcome.
Dear Joe, our cooperation in the past 3 years was extraordinarily close and full of trust. I know that this is not something that we can take for granted, even among good partners, as the US and Germany have been for many, many decades. I would like to take this opportunity here and today to express my gratitude and say thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. The times in which we're living are extremely challenging indeed. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine, war has returned back to Europe. The European security order has been shaken in its very foundations. It is all the more important that we reacted decisively and stood closely together and unequivocally condemned this blatant violation of international law and stand by our Ukrainian friends' side. It is thanks to your leadership that Putin plans failed, that Ukraine wasn't overrun within a few days, but it is thanks to the bravery of Ukrainian armed forces and the support of many states, above all the United States and Germany. Ukraine stands up to imperialist Russia since more than 2.5 years. Together, we commit to Ukraine's sovereignty and integrity so that Russia cannot subjugate Ukraine by force. We stand by Ukraine's side as long as it is necessary. Originally, your visit was scheduled to take place.
But we did have a crisis in our
and of our friendship. Please.
Well, Chancellor, Olaf, it's great to see you again. And I do apologize for having to cancel the first time around, but we did have a crisis in our southeastern border with hurricanes and tornadoes. But we're here because Germany is my country's closest and most important of allies. When Putin launched his brutal invasion of Ukraine, you reminded us all why this alliance is so essential. Under your leadership, Chancellor, Germany rose to meet the moment. You showed the wisdom to recognize that this war marked a turning point in the history, an assault on the very principles that have protected peace and security in Europe for more than 75 years. And then you summoned the resolve to act, remaking Germany's foreign policy to reckon with new realities.
Yeah, we were lied to. This was 3 days ago, by the way. That's not CIA superdrugs. That is a normal, coherent president who no longer has to run because his progressive ally is running up in his place. All right, a couple more just a couple more. I'm going to skip this one because we talked about AOC biscuit earlier. But let's grab this one here. So this story I covered when it first happened, the Daniel Penny, the killing that he had to do on the subway because to go back and defend somebody. But there's a reason this landed on things that I hate and not in the mainstream news, and we'll get more into it as the trial goes on. But the jurors are being picked right now for the trial of Daniel Penny. Penny faces 19 years in prison after he put Jordan Neely, who was allegedly threatening passengers, in a chokehold. Neely died at the scene. Penny's attorneys have argued their client's chokehold was justified due to Neely's threatening behavior, but also question whether the chokehold caused Neely's death. The medical examiner never provided specific evidence to support the claim that Neely died of asphyxiation from the chokehold, the New York Post reported. Now, this happened... When did this happen again? I almost think that this has been over a year at this point. Last year. It was last year. So this was over a year ago that we're seeing this, and now he's just finally coming out to his trial. Now, the reason that I put this up on Things That I Hate goes to the statement, the fact that this was even brought up on X to begin with. Now, what I mean by that, and what I'm talking about when I say this is the public has made their decision about this case, and it was very, very, very publicized from the beginning. It's going to be hard in the beginning to go back and find 12 people who can be openly objective to this, because between the media and the social media coming out here, everyone's formed an opinion on this and how it's supposed to go, and the fact that this person put a black person in a chokehold means that he's automatically evil. And conversely, my right-wing friends are always, well, because the black guy was fucking around, his death was completely justified. I'm not going to make a statement on this one, on the innocence or the guilt. The evidence should be presented. I have an idea on how I think it should go, but I'm not going to make a statement on it. Let the evidence come out. Yes, the guy did have to take a life. In his eyes, at least, was forced to, with his hands were tied into this. I unfortunately think that he's going to get the book thrown at him just for the fact of the racial differentiation between the two. And the fact that this trial was so openly and outrightly publicized. I can't think of a venue where he can get an unbiased trial, especially the fact that it's being tried in New York. I would move for a change of venue if it was me, but again, I don't think that it's going to happen. And the last one. I found this while we were live. I think I found this while we were on the title card, and I added it right away over to the Things That I Hate. Sarah Fields, at Sarah is Censored over on X. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the typical racist Democrat. She suggests that people of color would feel intimidated because the voting place is at the police station. I don't know what she could be implying by that. And yes, I checked for authenticity. She is serious. Let's watch.
I just went and did the early voting thing here in Texas, and we only have one early voting place in my small town, and I thought it was very weird because it was at the police department.
Which, by the way, where I vote here is also at the police department. Just so you know, that's pretty common. In fact, where I lived the last, in outside of Janesville, was also at the police department.
And I was thinking this is kind of a form of voter intimidation because people of color are probably not as comfortable going to vote at a police office. I mean, we have a library, we have plenty of schools. Why can't we vote there? It just seemed really weird to me. There wasn't a huge line. There was a line of people. I hope more people vote today, and I hope we break some records, and I hope there's more Democrats in this town/county than I thought. And even if there's not, I'm proud to be a tiny blue dot in a very red town.
My racist friends couldn't say anything that racist. I'm telling you. Alright, let's finish this up here. Let's head out of here. I'm hungry. That's the big part. Well, I'm out of news tabs too, but I'm hungry. Let's finish up. Where is my outro music? There it is. All right, I saw some new names in here too, by the way, so thank you guys for that. The replay for this, if you are still here, will be up by tomorrow morning. It might be tomorrow afternoon, depending on how late I sleep, because we went for quite a while here. But yeah, the replay will be up tomorrow. This live stream will be privated, so there's that. Thank you so much for watching, though. We'll be back here next Tuesday for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. Which, by the way, I got to put in for some time off as well, and we're getting up to that point because I do intend to do a long late night stream into election day, and if I'm still working first shift at the time, I'm not going into work the next day. I'm taking that day off, and I'm going to sleep. I'm definitely going to sleep. So, but that'll be upcoming here tomorrow night on this same channel. We will be doing the finishing touches on Super Mario RPG. I cut it when I cut it, specifically because, well, we're going to be running up on the end here pretty soon anyway. And then Bioshock joins us on Wednesday night, so we'll be doing that. And on Friday, we return for Fallout Friday. Thank you to CatPants13 for sitting with me on Friday and doing our interview as well. That should be up on Thursday. We should be up and have that up. I don't know, it depends on how late I stay up tonight. I might screw around with that one yet tonight as well, but we've got plenty of content coming out of this channel on the audio platform and on the backup channels as well. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. We will see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.